I want everything, she said, her voice steady, rehearsed. The house, the savings, the cars, and I don't want the child. The courtroom air shifted. My lawyer leaned close. Fight for half, he whispered. At least half. I didn't look at him. I looked at her. I'll give her everything, I said. Silence. Even the judge paused mid-note. I signed every paper without hesitation. My pen didn't tremble. My breath didn't change. Across the room, she smiled and victorious, radiant, already spending money she thought was hers. She didn't know I had already taken what mattered. There was a time when she cried the day our son was born. He was small, fragile. The doctors spoke in gentle tones about complications, about lifelong care. She held him and whispered promises. I'll never leave you, she said. We built a life around his needs, therapies, hospital corridors, late nights. I carried him when she was too tired. I worked longer hours when bills stacked higher than pride. And somewhere along the way, she stopped looking at him, stopped touching him, started looking at her phone more than our son. I noticed before I understood. Perfume I didn't buy, gym sessions that lasted 4 hours, a softness in her voice that wasn't meant for me. The first time I saw the messages, my hands went cold. Not rage. Clarity. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning. I can't stay stuck like this forever, she texted him. He'll give me half. I'll start over. Half. That word echoed. Not grief for our child. Not guilt. Just arithmetic. I didn't confront her. I became quieter, more attentive. I hired a forensic accountant before I hired a divorce lawyer. I transferred new projects into a holding company under my sister's name, legally, structured months before the divorce filing. I liquidated volatile assets and reinvested them into a special needs trust for my son, untouchable, protected, every bonus, every share option, every intellectual property right I'd quietly developed over years, moved, shielded, documented. The house? Mortgaged to expand my medical distribution startup. On paper, my net worth looked impressive. In reality, it was hollowed out, by design. When she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, I acted surprised. When she demanded full custody waiver and maximum asset division, I looked wounded. She thought she was outplaying a tired husband. She had no idea she was negotiating with a man who hadn't slept in months. Not from heartbreak, but from preparation. The day she said she didn't want our son, something inside me calcified. He's too much responsibility, she told her lawyer, not quietly enough. I deserve freedom. Freedom. From her child. That was the moment revenge stopped being emotional. It became surgical. In court, she performed sadness beautifully. Spoke about losing herself, about needing independence. Her lawyer presented financial statements showing significant business growth. They pushed for full asset transfer in exchange for waiving child support obligations. My lawyer nudged me again. We can destroy her credibility. The affair. The abandonment. We have everything. I shook my head. No. He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. But I wasn't trying to win the battle. I was setting the trap. I accept the terms, I told the judge. Gasps rippled. Her eyes widened and then softened with triumph. I signed. House, cars, savings accounts. Business assets listed under my name. All hers. The gavel struck. Case closed. She leaned back in her chair, exhaling like she'd just escaped prison. Then her lawyer's phone buzzed. He frowned at the screen. Color drained from his face. He stood abruptly. Your Honor, we need clarification on the asset transfers. The judge sighed. What now? Her lawyer swallowed. It appears the primary business holdings were restructured prior to filing. The listed company has significant debt obligations tied to leveraged expansions. She turned toward him, confused. What does that mean? He didn't answer her. He addressed the judge. The net value of the transferred assets is negative. Silence again. But this time it wasn't shock. It was realization. The house carried a massive loan. The cars were leased under business credit. The accounts she demanded were operating reserves for contracts that required fulfillment, and the profitable patents, the new medical supply contracts, the overseas partnerships, all under the Special Needs Trust. Irrevocable. Dedicated solely to our son's lifetime care. Untouchable in divorce proceedings. She stood up. That's not possible. I finally looked at her. It is. Her voice cracked for the first time.
You planned this?
No, I said calmly. You did. When you decided he wasn't worth keeping. Her lawyer flipped through documents frantically. The trust was established 8 months ago. 8 months. Right around the time her late-night gym sessions began. The judge adjusted his glasses. The court approved the settlement as requested by the petitioner. Requested by her. She sank into her chair. Everything she wanted was hers, including the debt, the responsibility, the collapsing business shell. And I walked away with our son and the empire she thought she was taking. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered. Word had spread about the unusual settlement. She avoided cameras. I didn't. I carried my son in my arms, his small hand gripping my jacket. He smiled at me, unaware of legal warfare, betrayal, or arithmetic. Just trust, pure and unbroken. That was the only asset that ever mattered. She thought she was escaping a burden. What she actually abandoned was security, stability, and the only person who would have loved her unconditionally. I didn't ruin her. I simply let her have exactly what she asked for. Everything. Except the child. And that made all the difference.